Hey, it's Barry, and this is the second episode of The Healthy Widower. Tonight I'm going to be making stuffed peppers. But before I go into my cooking, I just want to share some great news that I got from the doctor this week. I went to the doctor on Monday, and all my labs were great. My blood pressure was 120 over 80, down from 150 about 6 months ago. My A1C was 6.5. Which is well within healthy limits. And I had lost 20 pounds in the last 6 months. And a lot of that was from walking around Alaska. So I was just thrilled that my numbers were so good. And I'm sure a lot of it has to do with healthy eating, too. Now, I also wanted to mention, a couple of friends that have really inspired me on my road to health. One of them I mentioned in my podcast last week, Andrea, who kind of moved me toward a more plant-based diet. And my other friend is Tonisa. She lives in Alaska, and one of the motivations there was getting healthy enough to go hiking with her in Alaska. So both of them have really encouraged me to make more healthy choices. I've been out walking a lot. I walked 200 miles in April. Just last month in June, I walked 150 miles total, and that was in the heat of the Missouri summer. So I really thank my friends for encouraging me on this healthy journey. So for tonight, I'm going to be making stuffed peppers. Again, this is a dish my wife used to make, but I've made a few improvements on it. So let me take you through that. So the first thing I do with these stuffed peppers is I've already taken out the seed pods, slice them in half, and now I've got 2 green bell peppers. Now, some other people I know like the colored peppers, and that's fine. That's totally up to you, your preference. I prefer the green bell peppers. So, and like I said, I've already removed the seed pods, cut them in half, and now they're ready to stuff. So the first ingredient I put into these peppers to stuff them with are spinach leaves. Now this is organic spinach. The organic is just healthier for you than the other spinach, so I try to buy organic whenever possible. So the spinach goes in first. Okay, then the next ingredient I'm going to add is quinoa. And this is something my friend Andrea suggested. I think my wife used to use rice. I don't really remember. All I really remember was the peppers and the cream cheese, which is how I was making them exclusively at first. Then my friend Andrea suggested quinoa. Now, for a while when I first started using it, I was pronouncing it quinoa. And then my friends in Alaska started making fun of me. And they said, no, it's not quinoa. It's quinoa. So it's like, okay, I had it wrong. So I'm now pronouncing it quinoa. Anyway, I take a spoonful of quinoa. And I put some quinoa into each of the peppers. And so that is what it looks like with the quinoa in it. Now my next ingredient is the Griller's Crumbles. Remember the Griller's Crumbles that I put in the zucchini casserole from last week? Well, I also use them in my stuffed peppers. So I add these Griller's Crumbles. This is the vegan meat, remember? And I know some of my friends are going to make fun of me for using vegan meat. That's your prerogative. You can make fun of me if you want to. Now the next ingredient I'm going to add is hummus. So I was talking to my friend Tanisa when I first started talking to her about this dish, and I was using a lot of cream cheese. And she suggested, well, if you're trying to lose weight, which I was, you might not want to use so much cream cheese. So she suggested hummus, and I started trying. I thought, that is really good. So I've been using a lot more hummus. So again, what I've got now in the stuffed peppers is I've got the spinach leaves, I've got the quinoa, I've got the growers crumbles, and now I've added hummus. Okay, now the last thing I've done is, after putting the hummus on, I haven't totally abandoned the cream cheese, I just use less of it. So I put a little dollop of cream cheese on top of each stuffed pepper. Now I've found that 4 stuffed peppers are just fine for me. If I were cooking for more, I'd of course just use more peppers. So now I'm going to put this in the oven at about 350 degrees, and I'm going to let that bake for 15 minutes until the pepper is nice and soft and crunchy. So we'll see what this looks like in 15 minutes. And now, after 15 minutes in the oven, this is what the stuffed peppers look like. You can see the cream cheese is melted just a little bit. The peppers are much softer. All these flavors have now kind of marinated together, and it is ready to eat. Just take up the whole pepper and take a bite of it by stuffing it in my mouth. And it is a pretty tasty treat. So, that's it for this week's episode of The Healthy Widower. Stay tuned next week. I'm going to try a brand new dish, volcano chili.